So I'd like to share with you the third aspect of the art of contemplation. You know, there's really three techniques in one: pausing, pivoting, and merging. And we've looked at the other two in this series, and the third one grows out of the second, and the second grows out of the first. So pausing is really the key. And pausing we can learn easily. Anyone can learn the art of pausing. And within pauses, sometimes, if you're fortunate, a pivot will occur. So a pivot flows from a pause, and merging flows from quite a few pivots. So merging is different from the other two because it's more like the backdrop. It's more like the deep underlying reward and purpose of the art of contemplation is that what the art of contemplation ultimately does is it opens us up to life in a much more profound way. This is why it's called merging, because we begin to merge with all that is. You know, we experience our, a healthy sense of like, this is me, but then I flow into all things. I trust all things. I'm part of all things. I'm part of the whole. So merging, I'll read a few pieces from my book. Merging involves moving deeper than ever into life, into the world, towards others. It's a state of flowering. So you might say that pausing is the seed, pivoting is the flower, and merging is the fruit. And the fruit drops from the bough when it's ready. You can't rush it. It comes about in the background. It takes years. It's the threshold of our mastery. It's an unflinching attitude we develop towards everything and everyone around us. No matter what happens, no matter what destiny brings us, we begin to move towards it. We move to merge with it. And what's really important to understand, particularly in relationships, is that you can't merge with something or someone unless you've already developed a vast open space inside you. Because if you try and merge with a person without this inner space, you get entangled with them. Your story gets tangled up in their story, and there's not enough spaciousness and pause to kind of disentangle all those dramas. And so we get trapped in those shadow patterns, and those storylines. And we become entwined in this kind of tapestry. And that kind of merging is called codependent merging, and it's unhealthy. It's healthy to the degree that it teaches us, but it's unhealthy because it constricts our love, our natural sense of being. So true merging is the result of many pauses and many pivots. It's a maturing of us. It's a worldview that grows in us. It's a maturing of our soul. It's like everything. It's like roots that we have that we lay down into all the corners of creation. And there's nothing that we try to escape from, and no one who we resent, envy, or avoid. So amazing really to think that something that looks like it's a kind of we're losing our boundaries is actually the opposite. There's a paradox. As we merge because we've become so centered, because we have such a polished sense of being, then we are safe to merge. And there's this paradox where this diamond of the self is open on all sides, so it can merge without losing its pure self. In fact, the more it merges, the more beautiful and glittering that diamond becomes. So the great fear that many people have is, if I merge with the whole, I will lose myself. And it's an illogical fear. Well, maybe there is some logic to it, but it's not it's not correct. Because when you have that polished gem of the self, the true self, it becomes more resplendent the more it opens, because it's infinite. in we are infinite beings in our capacity to merge with things, with life, with events. So we don't really, merging has three, in my book I mentioned three qualities that create the environment for merging. One is generosity, to embrace things in a spirit of generosity, and to open and to soften, and generosity is sometimes very subtle because sometimes it's unseen. So a person, for example, I use the example in the book, like someone wrongs you with an injustice, and you know that, but instead of rushing to defend your honor, you soften and you open and you kind of assume at some level, well, this has happened because there's something I can polish in this for me. Never mind the other person. I mean, you can treat them with respect in whatever way you need to, right? Whether it means you withdraw or you just let them know that wasn't okay with you or how it made you feel, but you do that in a respectful way. Doesn't, that's just diplomacy. But the deep thing is that you make the decision inside you to learn from it. So in a way you're bowing to what's come to you, not consciously. You're bowing to it and you're going, okay, what's in it? What is the learning here for me? And then you contemplate its deeper lesson. Perhaps it's inviting you to let go of something subtle. And people usually expect a defense when they've launched an attack, but sometimes you can turn these situations around inside yourself and your response can be very courteous rather than reactive. And that's generosity. The second thing is friendship. And friendship is meant in a very profound way. It's how the Sufis, look at life. They look at everything as the friend. Everything is the friend. And to the Sufis, because they see everything as a friend, every act or situation or object or person is actually being embraced as an opportunity to experience the inherent unity of all beings. So seeing everything as your friend has the effect of bringing the world closer to you. You enter into this intimacy with life and others and people and things. And even if they don't return your offer of friendship, it doesn't matter. If you offer friendship, it's an unconditional thing. It doesn't matter. You just carry on moving and living, and you don't require for them to, if they're not ready, that's part of your spaciousness. You'll be there waiting anytime they're ready, and they may never be ready. This whole life they may never be ready. But nonetheless, you extend that friendship as generosity, as friendship. They're all intimately linked, these. And the third thing is gentleness. Gentleness is rooted a little bit on this Sanskrit term called ahimsa, lovely word, which means harmlessness. And harmlessness sounds like maybe a bit weak, but actually, harmlessness is it's non-violence, it's incredible discipline. To be absolutely disciplined in harmlessness, in ahimsa, means that no thoughts, words, tones escape your aura with any edge to them, or if they do, you immediately bring them back and you forgive yourself and you're like, I need to learn that. It's like you're constantly refining this, energy of gentleness, as you're putting out this energy. And that is what creates this merging. And it doesn't mean you can't be really clear and one-pointed. You can. But it means that even your one-pointedness has a polish, Even the edge has this kind of, respect. It's rooted in dignity and self-respect. And you offer that to others at the same time as you offer it to yourself. One of the hardest tasks in the art of contemplation is to be gentle with oneself. And if you don't remember anything else from any of this stuff, remember only that. Practice gentleness with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be easy with yourself. Let yourself off the hook. It's like a parenting. If we have to parent ourselves, and sometimes when we're faced with violence and hatred or injustice and the things of the world and people who behave really kind of badly, we have to remember that there's a wounded child in there. And how do you behave towards a wounded child? Yes, you have boundaries, but also you approach them in the spirit of gentleness, because you know that that is what a child needs. They've never really been loved, or they've forgotten what it's like to be loved. And so that's, along with boundaries and, and a sense of like dignity, we treat things with compassion. And that's the power of merging. It is the fruit of our contemplative practice. So it always comes back to pausing. Learn how to pause, remember how to pause, increase pauses inwardly in your life, outwardly in your life, and just allow the spaciousness of pausing to be fueled with these qualities: gentleness, the friendship, and that generosity of spirit. So good luck with this out in the world. The world will consistently supply us with the means to polish our art of contemplation. It's doing it now. It will continue to do it, and that's one of the great gifts of being alive and being in this body. And is that we get to move towards this mastery. And that's the purpose of the art of contemplation. So hope you appreciate and enjoy it.